Namaste, everyone. Welcome back to my channel, IndigoAngel. And today I have a special guest on my channel. This is Miss Kimberkiss, and I'm really excited to bring her on as a special guest. We are both very, similar in the type of content that we put on YouTube, and we both have a lot of deep introspection into the star seeds and all of the, galactic information that we bring forth all of the time. So we just wanted to get together today and share this information with our viewers and our subscribers and go into the depth into the Orion star system, into the Orion Stargate. And we're going to talk today about the Mintaka starseed. We're really excited to get in depth about, because I think we both really just have a lot to bring forth with this star origin. I know that I've watched your channel and I've seen some of the Mintaka readings you've put out. And I really like, because you bring forth a more of an aquatic aspect to the Mintaka, because I know there was some mermaid readings that you had done. So yeah, if you would just like to go ahead and introduce yourself to all of our viewers today, so we can get into talking about this. Yeah.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I love your channel so much, and I just love the stream of knowledge that you acquire and share out into the world, and I think it's really important during this time, and it really helps connect so many other star seeds to one another. So I just wanted to say thank you for having me. I'm so honored, and I really enjoy your channel. I like to channel various star systems, Mintaka being one of the main ones, just because it's one of my main origins and I feel very, very deeply connected to it. And just the whole mythology around the star system, everything about it that I've heard channeled through other star seeds that are also Mintakan, it's always resonated so much with me. And I feel like this point in time is so important and so crucial to get the information out there so that other, star seeds that are starting to wake up and starting to realize their true origins can really see if it resonates with them. And then they can use their intuition to tap into that and connect to it, and then maybe explore a little bit deeper and find out a little bit more about their primary origin. It's just one of the ones that I'm just most passionate about, and I love it so much.
And it's so important that, we do venture off into these lesser known origins. I would say that Mintaka is considered a lesser known origin because it is a stargate, within the Orion star system. And so, you have the categories of Orion, your Orion starseed, but then to dive deeper into that mythology and dive deeper into the origin and actually start to explore the expressions within each star system, because it's very different.
Yeah.
Very different in Orion. Each one of those stargates definitely hold just an overall different expression of Orion. And it's important collectively because I do feel that all, galactic human war history, all contemporary history, it's all held in the Orion star system.
Yes.
And there's just so much there. It's so much. And I'm learning this more and more and more as I kind of dive deeper into just the occult encryption of these star systems. I'm finding it to be very, very, just very secretive. And I don't even feel like that's the right word, but it's almost like it's been kept suppressed. Kind of like with some of these other star systems that are coming up now as just more and more people awaken to the lesser known stars, even like Hydra mythology.
Yes.
And just how much of the divine feminine aspect and expression and suppression of the divine feminine wounds are held within that star system, and how, we've been guided away from exploring these star systems and having this all come up. So Mintaka is definitely one of those star systems that holds probably some of the most occult information, particularly within the Orion star system. So that's one of the reasons why I'm so called to talking about it.
That's
and yeah, so how do you overall resonate with Mintaka? Like, what comes to mind as far as the mythology and the expression when you tune into that star system?
It's a lot. I think it's so much more than I think we really even know. I've had so many flashbacks of actually being there, and that's how I first found out that I even was. I had a flashback of me actually having a fin, or a mermaid tail and it was blue. And then I had other flashbacks of like swimming in the water and going through portals and all kinds of things. And then I was talking actually with another good friend of mine here on YouTube. His name is Stephen Libby, Starborn Messenger. And he was like, I think you're probably Mintaka. And then he pulled up one of my charts and saw that I actually was a starseed. And he's like, yeah, you're definitely Mintaka and starseed. And then I started digging more into that. And then with the amazing reading that I got with you, I was able to verify that as well. And so it made a lot of sense, not only with my Mintakan lineage, but also Lemuria, and the fact that I'm a Pisces as well, both sun and moon. So it made a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. So I guess what I've picked up from Mintaka overall is the well, because this is what we were just talking about a minute ago, was my interview with Carrie Cassidy, and it was so interesting because leading up into that point with that interview with her, I was receiving so many downloads, particularly from the Mintaka star system. It kept coming up even like 2 hours before I interviewed her.
Wow.
I was having just an incredible, almost like out-of-body experience, simultaneous download where I was receiving so much information. And it actually was happening like up until a week, up until I was interviewing her. It was just intense
Wow.
energy where I was just like, wow, she must be carrying such just a powerful energetic field, just with all of the people that she interviews on a regular, and just the content that she provides, because she's bringing forth a lot of whistleblowers and just a lot of encrypted information, secret information, people who are like fearing for their life and kind of coming to her. I mean, gosh, just so many people bring so much information to her that I just kept picking up Mintaka. And it led me to realize that Mintaka is like the Stargate of truth.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Stargate that brings forth truth, where all galactic nations come to lay down their sword, and no matter what's going on within the galaxy, within the cosmic frequency nets, within all of the distortion, within all of the warfares that are playing out. I mean, because Mintaka is right above safe. Mintaka is like cross angular to Rigel, which is one of the really hard star systems, where we have some of the nastiest I don't want to say nasty, but just
the darker like energies.
Like the tougher lineages and stuff. More of the darker cosmic history. And but in Mintaka, all of those lineages, all of that energy comes to basically create peace treaties. I almost like to think of Mintaka as like the central intelligence agency of the galaxy. It's almost and one thing that I was tuning into is there's vast libraries of knowledge in Mintaka that they carry the most books, the most scribes, the most scrolls. Like if there's anything you want to know, period, it's Mintaka. And that's what's so exciting about it to me. It's just like, so really tuning into that star system and accessing that radial encryption, I feel really opens the gates to being able to read planetary Akashic records.
Wow. Yeah.
That
resonates so much. It's uncanny. Yes. It's so funny that you said the truth, because I pulled some cards last night and they were all about truth and revealing the truth. And I knew we were going to be doing this interview soon about Mintaka. And so I'm like connecting the dots now when you're saying truth and universal truth and, the unity consciousness of all the galactic dimensions and star systems. And so when you said that, it resonated so much with me. So yeah, that is true. Yep.
Yeah. Just and I don't know if it's because it's on the feminine side of Orion's body and it's in the belt.
Yeah.
And the belt itself is considered the pearls of peace. It's considered
Yes.
definitely aquatic. I think the entire belt is aquatic, like out on the land. What was the other one?
Um,
Out on the land.
I know Alnalam and hold on. It
Alnatak.
starts with an A.
Alnatak. Yeah,
Alnatak. Thank you. Yeah.
yeah. I always like it's always like they're on the tip of my tongue, and then like when I have to say it, I'm like, eh.
Yeah.
But one thing that I've noticed with just because the Stargate systems do coincide to like geographical locations on the planet, and also Stargate locations in the planet as well. If you follow some of the just cosmic information that's come forth by the Guardians and the Guardian Alliance, like if you read the Voyagers, or if you look into any of Lisa Renee's work.
Oh yes.
Just the templates that they brought forward to follow. Like I've always used the celestial universal tree of life as like my reference point, or as like a foundation for the Stargate locations. And so the Stargate location planetarily for Orion in general is Zion, China. And Zion, China, well, this is what's so interesting about it, is because I feel like there is a current that travels from like I guess it would be west to east along the 30-degree north ley line, because if you look at like the planetary locations and Stargate locations, it seems that there is a strong generation or a strong current that goes from Giza to the Bermuda, or that is everything is traveling towards that. I guess the vertical line would be like where all the Jehovian seals are placed within on the planetary shields and within that line. And I know that I'm going like totally planetarily, like
no,
right?
I've seen your videos, so
Okay.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
For me, it's just when I'm thinking of it, my visual of my biology just immediately coincides like the planetary structures. So it's like I just simultaneously like pull up a vision of like both of those locations and how they're all interconnected. But I do feel that if that's true, that there is this strong, west to east, would it be west to east going from like China to North America?
Yes, I believe.
That the original one of the original generators, or or a strong foundational generation of that energy would come from the Orion Gate. And so that would mean it would be like a very strong foundational current generating everything on that 30-degree north line, which I feel is where most of all of the encoded memory for Atlantis, particularly Atlantis, is held within the planetary structures. So I feel like that's fascinating, and I kind of just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, it's actually really fascinating that you said that. I've been watching a few videos recently about Mintaka and a few other star seeds that are able to connect like we are. They connected in and channeled some information about how they believe, and this was just channeled, so it could be truth, that it might not be, but how they believe that the Mintakans actually started incarnating during the prime times of Atlantis. And so when you said Atlantis just now in that 30-degree, like tubal portal almost, it made a lot of sense. It made a lot of sense to me. So yeah, that resonates too.
Yeah. Well, because I think that Lemuria is on a different equatorial code.
Yes.
It's on a completely different pole
yes.
tilt. So
yeah,
in order to tune in, and I do feel that Lemuria is harder for people to tune into Atlantis. Atlantis, there's more memory records. It's easier to access it cellularly. It's more relevant in accordance to the Aryan collective or the Aryan root race. And so we can access that because we're still working through so much distortion collectively through that Atlantean
Yes.
memory field. So in order to tune into the Lemurian, you have to be able to access a different pulsatile, a different angulation within the planet. Even the location, I feel, of Lemuria being, which I feel most of the memory records are within the Polynesian Triangle.
They are. Yeah, they are. Yeah, most definitely.
And if you look at any maps or you look at any of the cosmic information that's coming forward, like, it's not even on maps.
No.
The Pacific Ocean is like cut off.
I know.
It's
On
like,
purpose. It's on purpose. Yeah. They did that for a reason.
It's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. And so I think it's out of sight, out of mind. So a lot of people have a harder time accessing their Lemurian records, which ultimately is going to bring back that stronger matriarchal divine, essence to the original. I feel some of the original encoding inside the planet that's going to help accelerate, which is accelerating constellations of target systems like Hydra.
Yes.
Or even like Cygnus, because I feel like Cygnus even.
Cygnus. Oh my God. Yeah. Definitely. It's a huge. Yeah.
Well, Cygnus and Hydra are actually in opposition to each other.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I didn't know that. So it makes sense, though. That makes a lot of sense.
And I almost feel like Cygnus carries the Hydra encryption on its back.
Okay. Yeah. That resonated when you said that. Yeah. And I think also like with Lemuria, I think also it's like the beginning of the awakening to it, I believe. I think we're still obviously working through all of the Atlantean memory and like coding and trying to decipher everything having to do with that. But I think like with the Lemurian awakening, I think it's starting to be, unraveled, starting to be uncovered. And I also believe that, because I just recently learned about the Lemurian seed crystals and how there's actually records that are embedded in the crystals that the actual Lemurians left behind to be discovered now. And so it's funny because now all of a sudden, now that I've discovered this information, I've been going into, metaphysical shops and crystal shops, and I've been seeing them everywhere. And I've been holding them and, trying to download the records. And it's so funny because I'll notice like different like pops of information coming into my mind and like recollections about it. So I think we're just in like perhaps the beginning stages of that starting to like unravel and awaken within our DNA. But I think there's still so much Atlantean stuff that we're obviously still having to work through, especially with like the stuff that's going on in science and everything else that isn't supposed to be happening, but it still is. Right. So hopefully more and more Lemurians can awaken. I think once more Lemurians awaken, it will help kind of to, I don't want to say dissipate the Atlantean information away, but I think it will help whoever's still encoded with that, like the negative Atlantean cataclysm, they will realize hopefully that what they're doing is against divine order, and hopefully that will cease. I don't know.
Well, you're absolutely right. I think it's going to bring at least a sense of balance to the collective, because even like going back to the planetary grids, things that I've noticed is everything that sits north of the equatorial plane seems to be divinely guided by that patriarchal programming. Like everything on that 30-degree horizontal ley line, I feel is just overall holds Atlantean encryption. Everything below the equatorial plane holds the divine feminine, holds the Lemurian encoding, and all of that stuff. So I think definitely it's just about creating like just like an overall entirety of like our planetary creational history, and just bringing balance and
Definitely.
It's very interesting. I'm thinking about doing a video on that, just how everything above the equator and the northern hemisphere is where all of the historical patriarchal information has come forth. So the
Yeah.
more we tune into the southern half, I feel we're going to just bring more of that divine feminine knowing forward, and
Yeah.
just more, more Lemurian information and healing. And you're totally right with the Lemurian crystals.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think it's the most powerful healing crystal there is.
I do too.
Yeah.
It's just something you just know. Like it's that truth that just resonates so deeply that you're just like, yep, I know it to be true. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Some things about Orion though, about why Mintaka is so amazing is just one thing that I kept seeing when I tune into it is I see a library. And I almost feel like safe, the Stargate safe would be the Stargate that basically holds the Vatican.
Okay.
So there's something with safe and the Vatican where the more that we can access that star system, because I feel like that star system is kind of like swept under the rug, it's kind of hidden.
Yeah.
And I think of it as like a vault, and the vault is locked. And
Yes.
we need to
So crazy that you said that.
we need to release these records. Like,
I know.
we need to read these books.
Yeah.
And I think all of the Lemurian information is stored in safe. It's stored in the vault, so we can't access the information fully, because everything, all records from Lemuria, anything ever scribed or written from the Polynesian Triangle was taken. It was either destroyed or it was put in the Vatican.
And then look what happened to Hawaii, where they wouldn't let the younger generation speak the native Hawaiian tongue. You weren't allowed to speak the language, and the elders were barely allowed to speak the language. And so they said it was to incorporate more of the English language, but then it was like all that wisdom and all that knowledge and the native speaking and the native language, it was just gone. And the queen dethroned, and it was just, the more that I look into that, I can't even believe it. I mean, I can believe it. I know why, because they wanted to destroy all that information. They didn't want them connecting back. But if you think about it too, it's in their blood. It's in all our blood. Like, we're all connected. So it is going to start becoming more unlocked. And I think more people are going to start waking up to that and kind of having, cellular memory and understanding to why this was all done. And it's going to start just.
And isn't it so interesting that all galactic war history is held in Orion?
It's crazy.
But the bulk of it, or the most hidden part of it, is all on the feminine side of Orion.
Okay.
All of the distortion is on the feminine area of the landmass of the United States. Of course, it's all, just implanted, hooked, just basically anchored into the feminine womb. So it's just like, of course, the galaxy, the celestial bodies are mimicking, the planetary grid structures. And so it's like, how do we access more of this? How do we heal this more planetarily? How do we just bring forth more awareness so people can, work through this and, just continue to be scholars and scribes that continue to put this information out. And I think that's what we're all assisting, as we're all part of this, flowing fabric, this time space, just bringing forth this information. But yeah.
I think the most important thing is just to talk about it and to make it more public so that people have access to it. And I think the more of us that talk about it, it's just like a domino effect. And then more and more people start, either recalling things or doing more research and just speaking out about it. I think is just so crucial and so important. So I'm so honored to be doing this with you today, because I think it's definitely going to help a lot of people. Mm-hmm.
So what is your perception overall of Mintaka? Like, when you've tuned in and you've seen, because you express it being aquatic, like being mermaids. So just give us some details about what you've seen there.
When I tap in and when I have like recall memories, even just memories of being just a little kid and swimming in the lake or in the ocean, like I just remember that connection, that knowing of this is where I came from and this is why I never want to leave here. And this is like my home. And I think with Mintaka, it was such a utopic atmosphere. And it was just so beautiful. And it's like, it was nothing. I mean, it was a lot like Earth. It was similar to Earth, which is why I think a lot of them did come down during the times of Atlantis. But I feel like it was so different. It was basically heaven on earth. That's what it was. And it was just very tropical. Whenever I tap into it, I just see it, just the beauty of it. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. And it's just very tropical and just warm and friendly. I mean, there was no lower vibe. There was no duality. That was the difference. There was no duality. I really don't think there was, because I don't know, just from me being me and being here now, it's so confusing to me. There's so much I don't understand about this place because of the dualistic nature. It doesn't make sense to me, you know, and it's something that I've really had to over the years understand and like come to accept. But I think as a Mintaka, you're just so used to that utopic nature and everyone getting along and everyone being friendly, and there was no war, there was no hurt, there was no pain, there was no suffering. It was just very utopic in nature, and lots of rainbows. Lots of rainbows everywhere, because whenever I tap in, I get the spectrum, the color spectrum, and the rainbows, and I've just been receiving that more and more the more that I dig into it and channel from there. It was just tons of rainbows. Lots of rainbow energies, so it's interesting.
The rainbow radial like light sources have been coming up a lot lately, so
Yes.
you know, I think we're very much in aligned to that. I was trying to recall the actual name of the planet in Mintaka.
Artuvia.
Artuvia, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
It's one of those tricky ones that you have to say a few times to like, you know, like it's a different name, but yes, Artuvia. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So it's a water planet,
Mm-hmm.
and mermaids, obviously. Dolphins and whales.
Yes.
Okay. And what about the octopus? Do you feel that as well?
I feel such a strong connection to the octopus that it's like uncanny. Whenever I, you know, draw in light language or anything, I always draw either the hydra or the octopus. I just feel like it's such a huge, it's almost like an extraterrestrial creature here and now. It's so ancient. And I know the Hawaiians worshipped the octopus. I know about Laniakea and how that aligns with the Polynesian Triangle. I really do think that it was more of a resonance to like Lemuria, but I still think there were aspects of that in Mintaka as well. I think it's all connected. I think it's really good.
I think all records, period, are in Mintaka. So it's like to access anything that you can access in Mintaka. So I absolutely 100% agree that the planetary Stargate location would be in the Polynesian Triangle for Mintaka, and then also equally Hydra, having that octopus connection and all of that, and how I believe even in Laniakea there is a Hydra super colossal cluster. And that was some of the stuff that I was getting into. I haven't had any recent downloads on it, but right around the time I made that Laniakea video, I kept receiving all of this cosmic galactic ascendancy structure that was like coming in and was honestly showing me like just a higher, and there are not even words for me to express this right now. I've literally been on like thesaurus, the dictionary, just trying to find words that can explain something that is beyond pre-universal or or beyond these universal set of laws, because it's hard to even talk about it when you're trying to explain something that's not even within this metagalactic core, and that there's such a far spectrum. I think like just 400 billion gazillion light years away before you get to this other galaxy or this super colossal cluster that, I mean, there's not a lot of words to explain even the frequencies.
Yeah,
because
it's just a feeling. It's just like a knowing, and it's just to be able to describe it right now. It's just like you were saying, it's so beyond. It's like, how do you describe Mintaka even? I mean, we can put certain words to it, but it doesn't describe the actual knowing from having resided there. The memories, the visuals. It's like you can't. It's hard to explain.
It is really hard to explain, but it's like I feel like we're trying. We're trying to.
We're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I definitely think the Mintakans are. I think the overall mythology of Orion is, they're freedom fighters. They are empowerment movers. They are, they're serving injustices. They are diving deep into the collective shadow. They're exposing a lot of the ruthlessness and the scoundrels, the villains. Like, they're the star seeds that really want to dive deep, and they want to basically be like Robin Hoods or whistleblowers. But one thing I've always noticed about Orion starseeds is because of that nature to be able to go so deep into the collective shadow and just overall be carrying so much universal wisdom that's inscribed, from their origin, that they're exposed to a lot of darkness early in life.
Yes.
And it's just like right away, right out the gate. I mean, it's just hardship after hardship after hardship from childhood, especially if they have a lot of placements of it in their birth chart. Is that something that you find with a lot of other things?
Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. Definitely.
It's just like a very dark, not saying it's dark, but it's just, they've been exposed to, they definitely weren't sheltered. It's just, this is the reality of humanism.
Yep.
And you get to pioneer yourself through that and figure it out. And so there's just an incredible amount of strength that I think the Orion starseeds bring to the table. And the more I think the Orions are the keys to understanding just the overall, just everything to the galaxy. I feel like that if, there's so much more there that, especially as we dive into understanding Sate or understanding Rigel, why is Rigel so brutal? Why?
Yes, right. Why is it? Yeah, I think it's so polaric because of like the lower density, like the anger and tumultuousness and conflict of Rigel, and then the loving, utopic unity consciousness of Mintaka. It's such a polaric difference all within the same star system. And I think it's a lot like Earth today, is it not?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, like, because I look at the whole constellation and it's just like, okay, so Rigel is under Orion's right foot.
Yes.
If you piece his body in half, like the right side's the masculine, the left side's the feminine, and then you can just see just the polarity from the stars. Like even Betelgeuse.
Yes.
Betelgeuse is above Rigel. Well, I've always sensed that those that are from Betelgeuse, they're definitely like the dominant expression of the Orion starseed. I don't want to say patriarchal, but I mean, it's the masculine side.
Yes.
And it can be very, I would say the Betelgeuse origins, I mean, they've gone through a lot of suffering. They've gone through a lot of sorrow. They carry a lot of sorrow, but they're also very like, just bold as well. Like, I feel like that star is like the star that basically upholds the Orion, the hunter, the warrior, that is the star that brings that encryption forward.
Yes.
And so, I don't know if it's because all of the darker aspects then just get suppressed down to the lower part of the constellation up under the right foot. And so it's just like trying to sweep all the dirty work up under the foot. I don't know, but
right.
But yeah, that energy comes, and I think it's held there. And so it's interesting, because then you start getting into the different types of species, like the draconians and the reptilian and the Anunnaki hybrids. It holds the most hybridization, and therefore the most conflict. But then you have Mintaka, which is the council that holds all wisdom and knowledge, where they come to lay down all of, their hatred and resentment and frustration and just desire to control and give forward the information. So very much holds all polarity in the star system. So, I mean, we could really talk about it for ever, because there's just so much.
Yes. I think too, the story of Mintaka. I had recently, one of my really good friends, Michelle from Michelle Noel Creations, she showed me the story of Mintaka a while ago.
Is that the native story?
Yes.
Okay.
And then when you did your Mintaka video and you were talking about Mintaka, I'm like, she is on it. On it. Yes, because they're so aligned with one another. They are so aligned, and it resonates so much. And even with the rainbow woman in the mountain, and how when someone does something against divine righteousness, that's when she comes into play, and she teaches you how to be one with one another, and the connectivity and the unity. And it's just amazing how it was such a sacred place that everyone traveled for miles. And these were people that didn't even get along. They were fighting against one another, and they decided to come together as one and hold hands and share stories and experiences and love. And I think it's really a good lesson to teach us here and now, because I feel like there's such polarity on so many different aspects, not even just here, but Orion and all the different star systems. And I feel like the more that we can come to understand that we are all connected, and we are all really one and the same, and everything else is just illusion. But it's hard, because we've been so programmed. We have been so programmed, and we're taught, from a very young age, that this person's this way and this person's that way. But I think the more that we can come to realize and really connect with one another, and just really realize how much alike we really are. And I think that awakens a lot of that Mintakan energy. And I think the Mintaka story is such a great way to actually expose this unity consciousness, and to reawaken it within the consciousness of the collective.
I absolutely agree. If you're watching, you have to go and look up this story of Mintaka. I don't have the information in front of me right now, but I believe there's a website. I'll leave the links in the description of this video so you can check it out. But there's a very detailed just story that connects Mintaka in with just the native, because it's a native story, right? Like a native.
Yes.
And it kind of just helps you to tune into the overall encryption of Mintaka. And so you can really understand how it's just this place of truth, and it's this place of, like she was just saying, like coming together. And also it seemed like there was some like consequences for not being, bringing your best foot forward, no matter what tribe you were from. If you did not, come in honor, peace, and purity, no matter where you came from, that there were consequences for that. And I think that, it helps people to understand, to just, uphold their highest integrity. Just the story of how they went about it, because it was like in a gentle way. Like you have one chance.
Yes.
Have a chance. But then if you are still not kind, or you're still not doing the right thing, then you do have to go.
Yes. Yeah. I think there was like 3 chances, and then 3 strikes. You got to go back and then come back once you figured out, once you realize yourself what you did wrong. come back with the right mindset. Yeah.
Yeah. And I kind of feel like that's how the oversoul kind of works too, even like the higher self. Like I feel like you have like about 3 chances
Yeah.
or you get, something that breaks down, your reality breaks down, just you have to really reevaluate. You have things that are taken from you in your own reality before you start to, if you're not heeding those warnings, so to speak. That might be something that radial encryption, that origin just holds for just the collective in general.
It's so strange that you said that and that we're talking about this, because just a few days ago, I received the message, 3 strikes and you're out.
Did you?
And so maybe I was just tapping into that. Yeah, because that when you said that, it resonated at my core. Like, these are the lessons. 3 strikes, you're out.
Yeah.
But I mean, you always have another chance to come back in because we're infinite. But it's to teach that lesson, to, I think, just awaken that knowing.
No, but you're totally right. I was receiving the same messages, like at the same time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah, we're so connected.
Yeah,
we're so connected. Yeah.
I love it.
Me too.
Well, we're working with the same energy. We're working with the same encryptions. We're talking about the same star systems. We're literally bringing forth similar or the same information just from our own understanding of it. And so, we're really tuning into a lot of the same things. And so, it's really cool.
Yeah. Are you from Mintaka as well?
I don't have Mintaka in my birth chart, but it might align somewhere. I always seen Mintaka at that 22 degree marker, about 22 degrees Gemini Sag.
That's significant.
Yeah, right? Because 22 is a master.
You're saying 22 Sag?
Yeah, 22 Gemini, 22 degrees Gemini, 22 degrees Sagittarius.
I have 22 Sag as well.
Okay. Yeah.
It's really significant, actually. Yeah, it is.
Well, it's interesting because it is, I feel it is a higher master number than 11, 22. And I do feel that the 2 frequency, just in general, because 222 is kind of a big number for me, IndigoAngel 222. Yeah. I feel like it's a higher humanity code going from 1, because 1 is like just the synchronistic awareness or the portal that opens, manifestation and synchronicity. But I feel like when you go into the 2s, you're opening that vortex or just that portal structure or just that accessibility into the higher humanity, higher manifestation codes for humanity. Yes. And so it takes you on a higher harmonic or like a higher universal plane of being able to tune into planetary healing. Yeah. And just overall just planetary manifestation. And I think the 2 encodings is what takes you into just the consciousness that just accelerates that overall within your own ascension. And so I really, I listen when 2s present, it's kind of it's my angel calling, like, humanity, I hear you.
Yeah, well, it's your special synchronistic number that resonates. Yeah, I used to always see 333, and then when I met my husband, I would always see 1111. He actually first would always see it, and then I started seeing it all the time, and I still see 222 a lot. And it's funny when you said our own personal ascension, because it's like whenever I'm doing inner work on myself is when I notice the 222s coming around. So that really resonated a lot. That really made a lot of sense.
Yeah. 333 has been coming up a lot too.
Yes.
A lot of this Sophia Christos activation.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think planetarily, just, the relationships we have with star systems, that they go through the same particular activations at the same time every year, but from a parallel version of what it was before, or just like an altered, or just an accelerated version of it where it's the same reality field, but from a parallel. Like I almost see it as like just the dimensional shift into like a different platform, kind of like if you were seeing the hologram, or like
Yeah.
if you were seeing like yourself down a tunnel of mirrors, that each of those cycles represent that reality field going forward.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can just kind of like look down it and see how we're aligning through each of the star systems and
Yes.
what that means. And so, yeah, I think the same numbers, the same synchronistic encoding comes up through the same encryptions from a different parallel at the same time every year.
Yep. And then it's like noticing the timeline shifts and adjustments of that and how we perceive them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool.
It is cool, because once you tune into it, then you're tuned into it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I highly recommend anybody who is learning astrology, or who is learning just like the planetary alignments, that if you're ready to step up to the next level of consciousness, to just start learning that for yourself overall. Because I always recommend people too, like if you're going to get a starseed origin reading, or you're going to, experience lots of different readers, because we all do it a different way. Some people channel the origins. Some people have systems or methodologies that they use, and everybody's just a little bit slightly different. And I say, if you don't resonate with any of the readings you get, then it's time to learn it yourself.
Yes.
There's something there that you have got to figure out, because your higher self is calling you and pulling you to do that.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
yeah.
It's so funny that you said that too, because there are some times where I'm channeling for specific clients, and the guides literally tell me they cannot give me any further information, that they have to sit in meditation and connect with their beings of light in order for them to provide that information to them, because it's up to them. It's up to their discretion, and it's up to them to really choose that free will decision to go about discovering more about their own inner truths and where they come from. So it's really funny that you said that.
Yeah, it's so true too, because it's everything has to be self-realized.
Mm-hmm.
Everything truly has to be self-realized, and it's the same for even a lot of this J seal removal stuff that I've just recently gotten into, is that I can walk through it with you, but I mean, I've noticed that a lot of people can't see if the seals are there or not. And so, yeah.
It's almost like hidden in a way then from them, from their consciousness.
Well, I think that this information came from such a higher Adashi level, and implanted into like the 12th dimensional, 13 dimensional galactic structure, that unless someone's really accessing 13 to 15th density, that they can't see the seals.
Okay.
How the information came in. So it is it's a really high level that, and I don't like saying higher or lower, because it's all of the dimensions of creation, but there's definitely a foundation of knowledge that one has to hold before they can really understand energetically what the implants mean.
Right.
Because they have a lot to do with the fallen systems and the 55 Metatronic encoding that came in through the 12th dimensional placement. Also the crucifixion seals and implants, which I've noticed a lot of people hold resistance to that, because some people feel they've transcended the savior archetype.
Okay.
And so it's not for everybody. It's definitely not for everybody, but I do feel it is symbolic and definitely very metaphysical to some people's individual healing. If they do resonate with just overall blockages in the vertical ascension column, period. And so, yeah, I mean, I do recommend going through it if you are resonating with the blockages. I think overall it inhibits on so many levels. So many levels. You have the Zeta seal at the 4th density, which is blocks psychic abilities, just overall heart consciousness expansion. But then you go up to 7th dimensional blockages, which are the Templar axiom seals, which are the actual seals that have been put on the Templar quests, which this is all Atlantean distortions going back to
and I know about the Templars. and stuff like that. So that it makes sense to me. It really does. It makes a lot of sense.
Well, and I think it ties back into the celestial universal tree of life, where I think of that structure as being the gateway to be able to access multiple radio encryptions and starseed origins, because for me, it's become about accessing more templates. And it has to do with, the DNA expansion going from 12 DNA strands to 48 DNA strands. Well, those 48 DNA strands coincide 48 genetics. Well, those 48 genetics are the soul and radio encryptions to the celestial bodies themselves. And so it almost doesn't matter what the origin is in your birth chart, because you have the ability to access any one of those templates. It's because I feel like the Templar seal is what prevents that.
Yeah.
And so just, it's just all about just integrating more knowledge.
Yeah.
Because knowledge it's photonic light. Knowledge is the radio encryption itself. It's just the purest form of it.
Yes.
It's the purest form we can access in human form.
The crystalline.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. It makes so much sense. And when you were talking about the J seals and certain ones, it really resonated with me too. Because I've been receiving a lot of like the Christos knowledge and seeing the visions of the cross, like the golden cross in my third eye. And when you said the 4 apocalyptic horses, that also resonated. Like so much of what you were talking about really resonated with me. And I feel like there's been so much of that coming through just recently. So much.
Yes. It's been thick.
Mm-hmm.
Really thick.
Yes.
To those who are able to access those reality fields, because it's not really real for everybody.
Right.
The revelational reality fields, the apocalyptic reality fields.
Yeah.
And wherever you're at with transmuting, collective suffering, because I feel like you really have to be able to access, these lower density fields. That's ultimately, you're accessing the lowest density fields of creation, and this is where this information is held.
Yes.
And so it really takes one being able to enter the shadow aspects of themselves, to be able to access collective shadow or collective unconscious, because that's ultimately, I feel like, where it's all stored.
Yes. And I think it's important too, like that you were talking about it and that you're making videos about it and speaking out about it, because like you said, a lot of it is within the collective and a lot of it is unconscious. And I think the more that it's brought to the surface, more and more people can, resonate with it, or just really kind of think twice about it and be like, okay, well, this resonates, like it's so weird that you said about like the apocalyptic events, because I think it was this past year. It was quite a while ago, but not too long. I think it was this past year. I kept having this vision of like this tsunami, this like huge tsunami coming. And I'm like, no, because I don't want to create it. I don't want to manifest it. But I kept just seeing this vision. And then it was so crazy because I've just been having insane visions this past year, like volcanoes erupting and just like those cataclysmic events. And it was crazy because during the one that I had about the volcano erupting, they were about to drill into Hawaii, that mountain, what is it called? Mauna Kea, I think it's what it's called. It's the mountain, and they were going to drill that big telescope in. Well, if it did and it hit that tectonic plate there, it would cause a lot of destruction. And so it was funny because while all that was going on, I was channeling all this information about the aquifer. It would hit the aquifer. It would hit the aquifer and cause like all this tumultuous activity to happen. And then I was seeing visions of volcanoes erupting. And then after that, I was seeing like tsunamis. And I'm like, what is all this? What is happening? But I didn't want to create it at the same time. So I just kind of took it for what it was.
Yeah.
But maybe it also has to do with that, energy being, awoken kind of this year.
No, it absolutely does. We're both very much in alignment to the same thing, because I've been tuning a lot more into just the ley lines and what the symptomatic symptoms are of the ley lines and where they're generating from, the flow of the current. And sure enough, every time I tune into what I feel is happening within the grid structure is a couple weeks later, something happens. Like the fires. I actually put out, I put out 2 energy updates where I was following the angular ley line in accordance to the relativity of the Stargate system that was aligning. And then within a couple weeks, there was the fires. It was the Brazil fires, and then it was the fires in Australia.
Yeah.
And
so scary and sad. Yeah.
And
it in, you picked up on it and you just knew, okay, this is what we're going into and something's going to happen.
Well, it's funny because I never know. Sometimes I don't know specifically what it's going to be. Like I'll think it's volcanoes, but then it ends up being fires or something like that. I think, I don't think we're quite there yet for like cataclysmic planetary volcanic activity.
Right.
And like you said, you don't want to allude to it, but as, you know, highly telepathically psychic attuned celestial bodies that are holding very highly encrypted, you know, just radial knowledge, like we are picking up on those cataclysmic timelines. Like we are receiving that, even if it is 200 years in the future.
Yeah.
And so there is like a propheticness to it where I think it does good to definitely just like notate it and record it. But definitely not want to speak it into existence. But
to at least be aware of what you're receiving. I think that's really important because maybe that's, you know, preparing us for somewhere down the line where maybe it will happen. You never know. And then we'll receive something and we'll just know.
Well, I think we're also energetically preparing the bloodline.
Yes. That hit a chord. That really resonated when you said that. I was like, I feel that. Yes.
Oh my God. Yeah. I love it. I wanted to tell you, I feel Mount Shasta is Stargate location for Mintaka. I picked up on this the other day.
Yeah.
There was something that came through where there is just so much UFO activity in that area, and it's neat, it's mysterious, and it's very unique in the way it presents at Mount Shasta because they actually use the cloud formations to go through and present. And there's so, I mean, I think it's probably, I don't know, I could be wrong, but I think it's probably one of the most active places for UFO activity, and it would only make sense that they would hold the Mintaka encryption. Although I have picked up on other Stargate systems for that location before, such as Pleiades and Antares as well.
Yes.
Because it's like an underground.
Like inner Earth kind of. Yeah. Yeah.
There's actually the city. Is it Teos? Underground city?
Telos, I think, or Talos. Yeah. Okay. I think you said it right. Yeah. Yes.
So yeah, I think there's definitely something, there's just something that I got to look more into that. But
I really do think that with Mintaka, because how we were talking about Mintaka's, the unity, there's so much activity there. I've been drawn to so many videos about Mount Shasta this past year from all kinds of different people that I wouldn't normally watch on YouTube, but the videos about Mount Shasta kept like coming into my vision to where I would have to like do research on it and, learn more about it. And there's just been so much having to do with Mount Shasta that it's like, it's uncanny.
Yeah.
And with the UFO activity and how you're saying about how they present with different cloud formations or come out of clouds. And I know like lots of Palladians are drawn to Mount Shasta. I know Lemurians are drawn to Mount Shasta. I know Talos is also in a significant, I don't want to say courting, but like, what's the word? I guess I'll just say courting to Arcturus. So Arcturians are drawn to Mount Shasta with Talos, and also I just get that Mintaka vibe.
It's like an international, like,
Yes.
holiday, like.
Yes. International. Exactly. Yes. So I think it resonates with all the star systems. I think there's so much activity because it is it's a special area.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, even because I know HARP, the location for HARP is
okay.
on the west side in the ocean, or is it actually, I take that back. It's in
That's
Alaska.
okay.
It's in Alaska, but it's definitely within relativity.
Yeah.
So I think that's just important to notate.
Yeah.
That, you know, just at least energetic siphoning, or like the wormholes or that portal structures that actually lead into the phantom matrix systems, that, you know, these are actual locations. And I do feel like HARP, you know, is one of them, and it could be, that's why it's so located to Mount Shasta.
Mm-hmm.
But
there's definitely something there.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. But it's all within the Pacific Ocean. You know?
Yeah.
Still feeding off of the old Lemurian, old equatorial encoding.
Yeah.
And
what you said about like that pole shift, about how the shift that we are on now is actually, what was it, 30 degrees off from what it normally was, where it lines up with the Nazca lines and all of that. And it was so crazy because I watched your video about the Nazca lines, and I did some research myself because I'd never heard of the Nazca lines. So I was like instantly drawn to the Nazca lines. And then Machu Picchu kept coming up. And I'm like, okay, what is this? And then what's that one temple? It's really ancient. It's in Machu Picchu. What is it called? I can't think of it. Is it in Machu Picchu?
Well, it's not coming. It's not coming to my. I know there are serpent temples. I believe that are by Lake Titicaca.
Okay.
Well, if we think of it,
it's like Taka something. Gosh, why can't I think of it? Well, I'll write you about it after this, because I can't think of the name. It's driving me crazy. But I was instantly drawn to that temple, and I think it resides in Machu Picchu. I'm pretty sure, or right along there. I can't think of it. It's gonna drive me nuts. But anyways, I was drawn to all this stuff, and then all this stuff kept coming in, and it was resonating so much, and I'm like, okay, well, this makes a lot of sense. So I do believe that it is 30 degrees off, because when that was explained and when I, tapped into that, I'm like, this is true. This is the truth right now, being exposed, So.
Yeah, no, totally. There's actually not a lot of stuff on YouTube about it, about that old equatorial just line, because that goes through Machu Picchu, the Nazca lines, and then it extends at least through Angkor Watts.
Angkor Watts. That's what I was talking about. Angkor Watts.
Okay.
I couldn't remember the name. I'm like, it's like with a W, and I can't remember, in a T, and I can't remember what it was. Yeah, Angkor Watts. I was literally just drawn to that. And then when I researched the photo of it, of what it looked like, I was like instantly like, what is this? What is this like resonating with me right now? So it was a lot coming through.
There's so much more there too. I have a feeling we're about to dive into it and crack into it more, because I just feel it all just like, okay, we gotta
like bubbling to the surface.
Yeah, because I've always felt drawn to Angkor Watts as if it is a Pleiadian stargate system. I always, go back to the Pleiades when it comes to just anything Lemuria, because the Pleiadians are they're Alcyon incarnates, they're the Tyrannosaeum souls, they're also the Oriphims. They weren't even in physical form. They were a part of, the human creation, along with the Lyrans and the Syrians. And so there's just I think Pleiades is just it's such an incredible star system with
Mm-hmm.
how much self-generating gamma, self-generating quantum because of the 7 stars. But not only that, the photon belt, and then also the holographic beam that they say only accesses the planetary gate structures at certain ascension cycles, but
Yeah.
I feel it all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because just the Stargate structures are just so open at this time, because I feel that they're very open. So that's why we are receiving so much of this cosmic acceleration
Yeah.
into, you know, ET and ultra terrestrial intelligence. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
all I feel it's coming through that holographic beam. And they say that like originally Alcyon was our sun.
It was our sun. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So when you said that, I'm like, well, that makes sense. You know, because I feel it too. I feel that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting because when I originally like had awoken to my starseed origin, it was Arcturus.
Me too.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yay! That's why we're so drawn to
Yes.
the ley lines, the planetary structures, being a grid and gatekeeper. You know, the Arcturians are just the ones that are very called to just get very technical with how they express technology and just, you know, the advancements of all of this.
So advanced. Yes.
Yes, yes, yes. I love, oh man, Arcturians are incredible. It's amazing how their brain thinks so much farther in the future. But the Pleiadians have just kind of come in and it's like, no, we need to focus here because this,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like there's just so much information that's hidden within fifth density. Because I think there's so much of us, and this is where I struggle. It's similar to energy work. Where we can ascend up into the highest 22nd dimension, but at the end of the day, we have to come back into the body and we have to refocus on the root and the sacral and in all the structures of the body. And there's so much there that no matter how far you ascend, let's say you've been ascending, you've been awakened for 5-10 years, whatever, you always have to come back into the body and you have to work through those density structures. Yeah. And within those density structures, there's more and more dormant encoding, especially when we come back around planetarily through those alignments every single year. Like I was telling you how you can see down the hall of mirrors and you can see it from a parallel now. Well, now you have to go back in the body and work through that density layer again because there's dormant codes there. Yes. And so I think that's what's happening. I think that's what's happening with the Pleiadian encryption right now because it holds fifth density. And I think it's an illusion also with a lot of the belief structures in the collective. I think it's a part of the imagination of ascension, or at least a belief structure that holds a container for those who are ascending in the beginning, where they hold the beliefs that you have, third density, which is duality, and then you have fourth density, and then you get in the fifth density where there's no duality, no polarity, and now you're just in this, fifth density, fully ascended, no polarity or whatever, and you're in this the highest enlightened state. Well, then you come back into your understanding and you realize that this polarity exists in all of the density structures, and that was just the container that housed the development of your spirituality.
Yes.
And
you're so well spoken. That was so well explained. Yes.
Well, it's like, because I've had to transcend all of this inside myself, because I've had to work through all of these containers. I've had to work through all of these structures of perception. Yeah. And so it's not that it's a bad thing, or it's not that it's deceiving. It does serve a purpose. Just very much just like the angelic kingdom, serves a purpose. Like, I feel for humanity, like the angelic kingdom it's so important for spiritual healing. Yes. Somebody's going through a lot of cellular healing when they're coming out of the dark night of the soul. Like that's what they enter into is the angelic kingdom. It's there to heal the spirit, heal the soul. And so everything, each density, each dimension, each chakra, each experience is there to, just assist with the fundamental development of the soul. And, and that's why there's no right or wrong. That's why there's, and so we're all just working through it.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of inner work. It's a lot of outer work as well. But it's also like, I think a lot of starseeds sometimes take on a lot of things as their own. And a lot of the time it is, working through things, not just for yourself, but for the collective as well. Because I really think it's all connected. And so I think sometimes when we pick up on these weird, like, vibratory emotions that we're now becoming aware, okay, this isn't my own, but this must be something that the collective is working through. Maybe a bigger group of people are working through, and I'm picking up on this. So I think it's good, especially for empaths to and especially if you're a starseed, to understand that sometimes some of these lower vibratory things that we're working through, even through ourselves, is really going to help us, but it's also helping the collective so much more than I think we really realize.
Yeah. And as you, I guess, experience more collective density perceptions, sometimes working through some of that collective energy or collective shadows can be really, really deep healing and deep work. I know there will be times where I will just grieve unconsolably for like 2 hours, where it's just like it's this deep purging from just deep inside my sacral, deep inside my stomach, all of my organs. Like I can just feel all of this memory just like emitting into my body. And there's nothing else I can do but just literally purge. And there's not any like specific thing in my personal life that I can say why this is happening. Like,
it's because you're a spiritual warrior. We're spiritual warriors. We really are. Like, we're taking on so much. And I think because we've done so much work through ourselves, and perhaps because we've had, awakenings, and now we're understanding, we're more, in tune, we're understanding the higher dimensions, the lower dimensions, everything in between. And we are also healers. So as a spiritual warrior, you're also a transmuter of energies. You're a healer. And so it is a lot to take on. And sometimes I think it's important to just be aware of what's your own and what's not. So that way, at least you have an understanding. Okay, well, this is mine to work through, and I'm going to work through this to help the collective, but this is the collective's to work through. So I'm going to sit in this because I'm picking up on it, and I'm going to see what I can do here. How can I transmute these energies? What can I do? Can I get grounded? Can I just channel in light? Can I connect with Gaia and Mother Earth? And just like figuring out your own way. I don't think there's a right or wrong way. I think it's just figuring out your own way to deal with the whole healing, because we're really taking on the whole healing of the planet. That's what we're doing. So it's a lot.
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. And being, just self-motivated to find things that work for you, find ways to make it a priority, because I do think there's a point where it becomes undeniable. That this is a real thing that's happening. It's very biological. And finding ways to work through it and being proactive.
Yes.
So amazing. I love you so much. I really do. You are so authentic. You're so genuine. You're so in tune. I could tell right away when I was just, I don't even have to watch a lot or listen to a lot, because it's like I can just tell within like the first 10 minutes of listening to you just how authentic and how tuned in you are, just through the tonal chord of your voice. And yeah, so I was just really drawn and really called to you because I can tell there's no resistance in your field. And I can tell that you have worked through a lot of ego identity collapses, which I feel is very, very important to a lot of people who want to be way showers on YouTube. And this is something I've had to self-learn a lot, is that we have to really be stripping away that ego identity because everything is so transparent in 5D right now.
Mm-hmm.
People see.
Yeah, even if you wanted to hide it, it's just like you're invisible, you know? It's starseeds, like starseeds just know. It's the frequency that we hold, and it's the frequency that we give off from one another, and it's like we just know. We know authenticity, you know, from a mile away. We can just tell. We can see BS from a mile away too, you know?
Yeah,
there's things are wrong.
Well, and it's a part of your development. I think even I'm guilty of this. Like when I started making videos and I started putting myself out there, I can look back at some of my other videos or things I've done and I'm like, gosh, I'm just coming from this expression where I just thought I knew everything. And I thought that I had some type of, I don't want to say arrogance, but maybe it was, or, you know, whatever it was, where I was just working through collapsing that ego identity.
Yeah.
I think that's, you know, ultimately what it's coming back to is just becoming humble again and holding that fifth dimensional frequency. It is 100% love, joy, compassion, bliss for all beings. I mean, you can, but I don't think you're going to get a lot of good responses from others if you're not holding that highest integrity. And you know, like you said, it is so transparent. It really does show. And but it's a process of learning that, you know, like
it is. I've done that too, where I look back at some of my older videos and I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? Why were you trying to be like this? Like, that's not you, you know? And I think the more we can realize and just tap into just who we are, it helps. It helps on so many dimensional levels. It helps your entirety of your being just to be you, you know? Yeah. And to not be hard on ourselves either, you know, like, I think that's the big lesson too. 'Cause, sometimes I'm just like so hard on myself when I'm like going back and like looking through things, and it's like, no, you know, you were working through things at that time, and that's okay. And you're here now, and that's what matters. And you've learned and you've grown, and it's a good thing. It's good.
Yeah. It is beautiful, actually.
Yeah.
It is 100% just, you know, magical, amazing, all of
it
those things. I'm gonna just end this video here though, because you know, I just don't want the video to be too long.
Right.
But I just wanted to thank you so much for coming on my channel. It's been such a pleasure. I would like to highlight your services. So if you just want to let everybody know how, if they would like to get a reading from you, how they can contact you. Of course, I will leave links in the description.
Sure. For my Starseed Origins readings, or personal or even timeless, I have an Etsy shop. It's under Kimberkiss Readings. The link directly to it is under the description of almost all my YouTube videos. I'm also available to be reached at Kimberkiss33 on Instagram, and also Kimberkiss28@gmail.com if you wanted to reach me that way. But to view my readings and see what you're drawn to, it's all on my Etsy shop.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And
Thank you.
And you can always check out my services at IndigoAngel222.com. And you can also find me on Facebook and Instagram as well, IndigoAngel222. So I just wanted to thank you all for tuning in today. Namaste. Thank you, Kimberkiss.
Thank you so much, Indigo Angel, for having me. I so appreciate it. It was an honor.